Hi, my name is Vu Dang, and this is my final presentation on the topic of emotionally sensitive intelligent tutoring systems for CS 6460. To provide a brief project overview, this project is research-based and explores the effectiveness and need for an emotionally sensitive intelligent tutoring system, or EITS, to teach programming to college-level students. Additionally, this project will determine the linkage and effectiveness between emotions and learning, and also the feasibility of emotionally aware features in EITS, and assess the current market, tools, and applications and research within the industry. And it'll conclude with some general guidelines and recommendations on what makes up an effective EITS. Brief presentation overview. It's conducted in 4 parts. So there's surveys, which was conducted from the OMSCS 6460 participants. Next, we'll delve into a market scan of the EITS applications and research studies that's currently done on the market. We'll go through some research studies and the takeaways from the research that was done on EITS. And then finally, we'll conclude with some general recommendation of the capabilities that a core EITS system should have. To start off with some of the research takeaways, 103 sources were reviewed and analyzed. Most of the research concluded that emotions do play a positive benefit and led to improved learning. EITS that were studied were successfully able to induce positive emotions that led to improved learning for students. The factors of immediate feedback, empathy, and encouragement were key signature indicators or helpful features within an EITS that were helpful to engage learners. Some other research takeaways is that most of the successful EITS systems were able to incorporate and find the right balance between minimizing the negative emotions of boredom, frustration, and inducing the positive emotion of encouragement and motivation to help students learn. One application, and specifically called AutoTutor, which spun off a bunch of several other applications as well, is AutoTutor. It's a conversational tutoring agent that uses natural language processing and also emotional technology, and the results were that it rivaled expert tutors and even outperformed those of novice tutors. The teaching methods that were most effective incorporated concept maps as well. The key approaches that were helpful were problem-focused, which means they used a lot of definitions and examples to change the situation that caused the negative emotion, and also emotion-focused approaches, which changed learners' way of perceiving the situation, were found to be most effective. Also, the agent characteristics of their pedagogical actions and expressiveness, such as enthusiasm, are 2 of the key indicators or important factors for learner satisfaction. And additionally, there were 2 emotions which had a pretty high positive correlation between emotions and the cognitive and metacognitive processes in learning, which was surprise and frustration. It accurately predicted the thinking and the thinking about thinking processes in an EITS system. Also, there was some research done and applications done in computer vision and deep learning technology, which resulted in 87% accuracy rate in detecting emotions. Some of the survey insights. The first survey that was done was around general EITS features and the need for EITS systems. Most students agree that EITS for programming they would use it frequently. 76% of participants agree that it's very important for an EITS to be enthusiastic and express positivity in the interaction. 88% of respondents state that they're not able to think effectively if they're experiencing negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, boredom. Students seek EITS help mainly for cognitive help, such as technical domain knowledge help, as well as metacognitive, which is the thinking about their learning process during times of negative emotional experiences such as frustration and boredom, with frustration being the highest rated emotion and then boredom coming in as second. 76% of respondents agree that emotions play a significant part in their learning process. The second survey that was done was around concept mapping and adaptive features. 64% of respondents agree that having system prompts that provided performance feedback immediately after the negative emotion experience would be helpful to regulate their learning experience. And 60% of respondents agree that having an EITS to be able to detect accurately the learner's emotional state to identify when they might need to be distracted or focus elsewhere, such as a video clip or music to direct their attention elsewhere, to provide a break so they can return to the task feeling refreshed. Some other features on the concept mapping is that such as recommended learning strategy, having self-directed prompts to set goals, EITS strategic features such as summarization for deeper and more active learning, and then general features such as concept maps and having more frequent exams and tests. A review of the market tools and research takeaways is that 35 EITS applications were studied and researched. The capabilities range from physiological indicators such as EKG and ECG, facial recognition, to conversational agents, to speech synthesis and self-reports, emotion and problem-focused solutions, to games. And so it was pretty diverse area that was studied for the applications and the research. And the outcome was generally positive. The majority of the applications and research done on the systems were able to successfully find the right balance to regulate the range of positive and negative emotions and to calibrate the interaction to be able to induce the emotions that are most suitable to learning and minimize the negative emotions that detract focus and attention away from the learning experience. And so it was successful in that sense. There were a handful, probably a minority, most of the minority group of applications and studies that produced negative or mixed inconclusive results. And some of them actually supported the hypothesis that emotions had no or a negative effect on learning. But again, those were just a handful that were a minority in the applications. So we'll conclude with the general recommendation. It's based on control value theory, which is basically the amount of control that the students have in their interaction as opposed to the value that they get from the outcome of the interaction. Some general guidelines is to weigh the cost versus the value of the EITS. If the cost outweighs the values, that needs to be taken into consideration. The assessments, having more assessments that gauges the learner's skill level prior to the tutoring interaction, or having more frequent assessments and reviews of the lessons to be able to, for the students to monitor and regulate their progress. Also having EITS system prompts, and these are messages delivered by the system to provide emotional experiences during learning sessions, such as encouragement and support, would be extremely helpful. A subset of that is self-regulated learning, which is a feature which advises students on strategic learning behaviors, which consist of a plan to actively understand a subject such as math, setting sub-goals, using learning strategies, monitoring and regulating aspects of cognition, behavior, and emotions during the interaction. And in planning for an EITS, frequency of the intervention, like the above EITS system prompts or self-regulated approach, time versus event should be taken into consideration. The frequency of the event, such as having a predefined set periods or triggered based on an event, such as a negative emotion that's detected by the system. Also adaptive user versus non-user adaptive, having a custom solution for the user versus having more general features that's directed towards the general population, which should be considered. With the goal of, in the research studies, hardly